Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. It is Monday, November 8th, 2021. Welcome to our program, wherever you are joining us. Those of you joining the broadcast on our own Perspectives page, we welcome you. Those of you on MTV, on air and online, on Partygrenada, TNR Communications, KG9, and Sister Isle, streaming out from Carriacou. We thank you so very much. I am Brenda Baptiste. Good morning. We're celebrating today here on Perspectives. It is 1 year since this program aired. So it is our first birthday, our first anniversary, so to speak. Yes, it was November 9th, but it would be the first Monday. It would have been the second Monday in November. So November 9th is tomorrow, but we celebrate today. So we say happy birthday to Perspectives. And all of you who have been here with us on the program from Jump, there are some really loyal viewers. Like I say, good morning to Mr. Roger Bayer. All right. Shadina, good morning to you. You're one of our first people there. Lots of you who tune in. Cleve Depredine and all of you who tune into the broadcast. Cassandra Mitchell, all of you. Thank you so very much for sticking and staying with us and all the wonderful guests that came through. We thank you so very much. It's now time to say good morning to our expert talk panelists. It's a pleasure to start this program with these gentlemen that I'm about to introduce. And over the course of the year, I've got to know them a little bit. And it's a joy to come in on Monday mornings and to, just meet them and smell their fragrances and see their smiles and everything. So, good morning to Senator Christopher Allie and Mr. Byron Campbell.
Good morning to you, Brenda, and good morning to our listeners and viewers across all our various platforms. And yes, today is a special day for Perspectives. I mean, the time has really flown, because you can't imagine that we've been doing this for almost a year already, or a year plus. And all things are happening, and the speed at which it's happening. I mean, it obviously means we're getting old nicely and slowly, as good wine. But we also have a very special celebration today as well.
Yeah.
Our host is celebrating her birthday today. And we welcomed her with a big happy birthday singing. And so on.
They did.
You notice how she's looking bright and cheerful and so on. So we expect she's going to have a ball today.
Oh, yes, they did. As I walked through the door, they just burst out singing. I was so surprised. And they can actually sing.
There are some choir boys among us, Byron, and so on.
Chris. Thanks for the birthday greetings, guys. Thank you so much.
We didn't get time to have the cake, but we can order the cake.
Okay, no problem. No pressure.
So yes, I mean, it has been an eventful week, I think. We saw the opening up of, or the relaxing of our curfew to 12 o'clock.
Yay.
Which I think a lot of businesses welcomed, especially the businesses in the entertainment sector, restaurant business and so on. And generally, I think our people were happy to have the easing. And the easing has helped. The easing has certainly assisted us generally in how we do and what we do. So that was a good thing, I thought, Byron. And obviously the figures continue, looking at the dashboards, to go in the right direction. Well, I don't know if it's direction or it's basically a situation that we are low, and we're keeping it there. So that is good. I mean, we have to compliment our people. I suspect the only thing, of course, is vaccinations, and the uptake is still a bit slow, and that is something we have to continue to work on. But as usual, I'll be a little controversial. In my view, I think we should just open up.
What's controversial about that, Chris?
Byron, well, I mean, some people think the 12 to 4 curfew makes no sense. I really think we should just open up the place. We have the winter season, the tourist season coming along. We have Christmas. We have all of these various things. I think a lot of businesses have adopted the safe zone type of approach, with vaccinated people can attend and do certain things versus unvaccinated. So I think we should open up the place. We have to learn to live with this virus and do what we have to do, and see how it goes and manage it going forward. And I think that is something that we should consider, and the government should consider doing.
Absolutely, Chris. I would endorse such a view. Good morning, and as we all know, happy birthday, Brenda.
Thank you.
Fragrances. Okay, I'm not going to comment on that. But the weather, and I always want to throw my piece here on mornings for the farmers. There's speculation in terms of Are we going to have an early dry season, a late dry season? The weather is a little erratic, not so much dependable, predictable, that is. So it's up in the air. But as we talk about, as I comment about farmers, the news, I think it was Tuesday morning, the leader of the NDC was making a statement, reference to youth and the importance of it, which I buy into, by the way, in terms of youth taking a major role and a stakeholder in the country and as a future. And I have no issues with that. I believe that intergenerational kind of body in development is important, dominated by the young persons, of course. But he went on to make a point, or to exemplify the point of the importance of youth, by saying that he doesn't expect a farmer 70-year-old to use technology. And I think that was a bit out, obviously, that farmers at all ages use its technology, whether it's mist blowers or weed eaters or their telephones or their laptop for marketing or drip irrigation. You see this all around the island. Farmers 80 plus actually using technology. So I think it's a bit of a misunderstanding there. But clearly farmers, technology is important, not only for youth, but for all, the entire industry. And we're going to see a lot more of that. I mean, we're not yet into the area of using drones and all that, given our topography and others, but possibly that's okay in the future. But Chris, something also that grabbed my attention is the whole question of inflation, particularly as related to rising food prices internationally. And I just want to reference here that world food prices have surged to the highest level in more than a decade, and the FAO monitors a number of price indexes around major food commodities, wheat, sugar, rice, and some of these major inputs have said in the last year, it reported they reported a 30% increase in the past year, citing weather, supply chain issues, and even worker shortages. So that's going to affect us here. So we are going to, we are going to have, we're going to see rising prices here in the supermarkets and elsewhere. So the solution, I mean, the question is how you react to that. I think there's an opportunity for us to focus a bit more on local, and even the whole backyard gardening initiative means we'll have to do more for ourselves. So watch it. You're going to see it's already happening, but we're going to see it spiking here already. But look out for this.
And I think December is going to offer the opportunity for more spiking. Yeah. Because traditionally the demand in December for commodities, especially food, the hams, the this, the that, to make the cakes and so on, the sugar, the flour, and blah blah blah. You will see greater demand in that period. We supposedly are expected to have more people on the island visiting at that time because of the tourist season as well, because that is the start of the season.
Well, and, consumer demand increases at that time too because of the season it is.
Correct. So, and then if you have parties and functions happening again, there's a surge in demand there for alcohol, drinks. So you will see, I believe, a serious rise in prices across all food items in the country. And again, 99% of that is imported inflation. There's very little we could do about it. And we all know the reasons: supply-demand issues. There's greater demand than supply. The issue of worker shortages. So you can't get commodities to move as they ought to. The trucking issue in the United States. The shipping issues. Normally, the shipping lines increase our freights around this time, and they come at all kind of crazy charges.
To do trucking.
Yes.
Asked some of the members of the National Guard in the U.S. to do trucking because of the supply chain, the logistics is still backed up. I was looking at Bloomberg, I think on Thursday morning, and they were saying that there's this big thing going on as well, where manufacturers and companies and so are asking you to pay express shipping. And because people are so, you want the goods, so people are paying these exorbitant costs in this express shipping. But express shipping, and people are doing that. So in that express shipping, the cost is also going to be passed on to us. So that is happening worldwide as well. So it's just,
and it's going to be difficult, Byron, how we deal with it. I think we have to approach it from two angles. Of course, you spoke about consumer, the more local. But on the local, you're limited.
Yes.
Is vegetables, short crops,
Absolutely.
fruits,
Yes.
and
You
so
are
on.
limited. Yeah.
I mean, you can't get sugar. We don't do rice. We don't have a lot of
Exactly.
staples,
You have to buy
butter,
it.
oil. So you have that you still will impact
That's
the bill.
correct. That's correct.
And so on. But I think the other aspect of it too as well is we have to seriously look at how we consume and what we consume. In terms of volumes and type. And it comes back on us to look at the grocery list now and take out the wants and only concentrate on the needs. Because
that's kind of hard. We're creatures of habit.
Yeah, and that is something that's one of the adjustments we probably will have to make.
Yeah.
And don't forget, on top of all of that, we have the electricity rates climbing. Energy, and that affects us right through, whether it's transport and what we do at home. So there's a lot of challenges coming from that perspective that we as individuals also have to look at how we do and how we consume.
As you mentioned energy too, Chris, I think about COP26 and one of the, notwithstanding a number of the major players, particularly coal users like China and Australia, even the United States have not joining in this area. But what's interesting, I think, coming out of COP is that all the major players in terms of the European Investment Bank, the World Bank, across the board investment companies, the majority of them are taking a decision to cease financing fossil energy related industries or investments. And I was just thinking, well, where is our energy in terms of all fossil initiative? That's gone. I mean, literally, that's gone.
But that's going to fast track. Look at it this way.
Yeah.
That is the fact that all these major players have said, listen, don't come to me for any money to fuel to finance anything fossil related. You won't get it. That will fast track the renewables. Remember I was saying last week,
That's the point.
There's long-term plans,
renewables.
but you don't have to push it up.
Renewables.
Because really, you really would not get the support you need.
Exactly.
And that is across the world. Because I know when people hear about climate change, it sounds like a distant thing, but we have to realize it's not distant, it's right here. So I think there needs to be more education on it. We need to become seriously climate smart, and there need to be policies that are, climate related. So I don't think COP26, but nobody really signed on to any of the major things in terms of stopping all the, there was a lot of public relations, great speeches. The best was from the Prime Minister of Barbados, but really and truly, the people who can make the difference really did not sign on to a lot of those agreements, and it's just like, all right then, okay.
The 1.5 degree conversation, the expectation is that we are going to hit the 1.5. Even though we have made commitments to 2030, but the countries that have made commitments are countries like ours, and saying that we're going to adjust by 30%, 20% with emissions and so on. But our emissions are ridiculously small compared to the Chinas and the Indias and the United States and so on. And they have not made any significant commitments to change the track that we're on.
There was no signing on.
I have said, Brenda, I'm devoting my time in the next few months in the Parliament to talk about the environment.
Great.
Because I've coined this word about envirodemic. I think that's the next demic we're facing. Yes, we have a pandemic, health pandemic now, but I think the next one, this pandemic is going to be around the environment. We have a major issue with fresh water. If you look at what's happening in California, what's happening around the world, water is going to become an even more precious commodity.
That's great to hear you say that. I also think, having interviewed him in the past and listened to a lot of the things he has said, I think Senator Simon Steele is very, very strong on climate smart
issues. Quite frankly, Grenada has a very ambitious program.
Hear both of you.
Yes, Grenada has a lot of things that we have listed and stated we want to have achieved over a time frame. Of course, it's to get the monies to do it, but I think generally, I don't think our population understands and know what we have put forward.
Education.
And that is something we should talk about. I mean, just take the Carenage, for example.
You mentioned
that. Right. So, there's a lot that we have put forward, and because we are going to be, we have been affected already.
Yes.
As I mentioned, we had the Petit Martinique issue. We have the one in St. Andrews and Telescope and other areas.
And the erratic weather, Chris. I hear you making a statement about the Parliament. I mean, I really look forward to that, because that's really one thing. Senator Steele is leading Grenada's delegation.
That's right.
There's another lady in the public service. she's a permanent secretary in Foreign Affairs now, Roxy McLeish Hutchinson. Roxy is very, very strong on the climate issues as well. So it'd be really great to see you guys doing that because it is so needed. So that's a great initiative, Senator Allie. I look forward to seeing and receiving the info.
I'm driving this morning to not to work, but to this program. And I'm listening, and it came up Marcia Griffith singing Dreamland, And we shouldn't take that dreamland for granted, but she was making the point that we're all in this together, it's our collective, it's all we have. And I just want to say I support you in this initiative. It's something we need to air a bit more and talk about more, because we talk about the environment as though it is somewhere else and not with us. It's right here.
We can do debates, have the school children debate on the climate, all these things,
The biggest challenge we're going to face, let's look at the Guyana anomaly now. Guyana have these huge deposits of fossil fuels.
Yes.
And the issue is how they're going to monetize that and maximize that for the development. Now that the IMF and them have taken such decisions, and the BP internationals and all of them will have to now come up with different models. So you have that, you have the Trinidad situation. So all of us who were looking for fossil fuels now have to slightly adjust.
Clearly.
Our generation of electricity in the OECS is still
never
diesel.
gotten to this though.
Diesel.
Yes.
If we were really serious.
Back against the
diesel.
And then we talk about developing the blue economy. But here now the blue economy is challenged by bleaching of our coral reefs, which indirectly affect our fisheries.
That's correct.
Which indirectly affect our seacoasts and our tourism and what is going to happen on our beaches and so on. And generally our temperatures are rising, it's getting hotter. So there's a lot of health issues there related. So there is so much going on with the climate and the changes in the climate that we want to.
I just couldn't believe, out of everything, because I followed and the discussions were rich. Even the young activist Greta Thunberg, she came and she got really passionate and almost let go of F-bomb in the people, please. Because she got so passionate. And that to see them walk away, to see these people walk away from that thing and not even seriously sign anything that means anything. It was great. The only thing that they would now, and I hope the IMF and so don't just say that and then on the back end they still fueling the big whoever. Because we know the IMF and so are. The same people that didn't sign the agreements, right? We know what we're dealing with. But at the end of the day, you have somebody who represented our region so well in that of Prime Minister Mia Mottley, and then you just have people not even try to see if we so care about each other and if we still working on the premise of why the United Nations were formed. The hypocrisy and the political shenanigans is so stark and disgusting. Let me hush.
Brenda, the final point I want to make on this is that while all of this is happening, my interest is in accessing the resources, primarily grant resources, that are available from the Green Climate Funds and these international organizations.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money there. So our preparation here is understanding how they were getting accreditation and to be able to access these grants. There's a lot of money there for developing countries like ours that are affected directly, for particularly small island developing states. And so we had to be able to be there to access these resources. We've started, but we have to become very professionalized in this and to be able to get a maximum out of it.
Byron, that's a good point. And when NAWASA was negotiating for their monies under the GCF, which is the Green Climate Fund, it took us almost 3 years to get the paperwork done.
That's true. We heard that in about 3 budgets before the money showed up.
And even when the money shows up, there's so much things you have to put in place, the consultants, the use of the funds, the accountability, and there's a lot of stuff. So there is a serious administrative challenge with that.
That's correct.
I know Grenada is putting things in place to have financial institutions accredited and so on and so forth that will speed up the process for us as we get involved in this. But that is something that obviously has to be looked at as well. But there is a lot of funds, but accessing it, is difficult. And once we get it, of course, Grenada suffers from an implementation aspect as well.
Yes.
We don't seem to be able to implement projects. Even our own PSIP program suffers from implementation, not lack of funding. We have funding, but using it, we don't have, enough resources, whether it's human, technical, machines, and so to deploy faster and do what we have to do.
So maybe, Senator Allie, we need to be revolutionary, because if we want to make those changes, then if we, the whole climate smart and the climate focused thrust, normally we just take these things and we put it in a ministry. But when you put it in a ministry, what happens? It gets bogged down to the protocols or red tape of that said ministry, and that impacts implementation. Make no doubt about it, because of how our system works.
Implementation minister.
So yeah, exactly.
Avoid the red tape.
But it becomes hard for the minister as well, because if you go here, well, no, this can't do this today because it had to go over so and come back, and the time it takes to leave here to go over so, there are things that are happening over so that might make the process longer. So I'm saying, go over so. So I'm saying all of this to say that it is critical that you set up special units, you do special projects, you set up a lot of governments in these islands, they set up task force when they want to get things through quickly, that the things that don't get bogged down in government and so we have to probably look at it that way. Because for all we say, we were having this discussion recently, some friends and I, for all we say about all the progress that the revolution made, 4.5 years, we did this, we did that, we did the other. Think about the 4.5 years in a normal sphere of things. Think about if Maurice Bishop had to go to Parliament. Think about if he had to wait for stakeholder meetings. Granted, he went out and spoke to the people about what they wanted to do, but we didn't have Parliament, so nobody was going there to do anything. All you did was instituted people's law. You wanted to do the NIS, people's law number what. Marketing board, people's law number what. No, think about it seriously, because you were in it. But think about it seriously. That is what is the difference between then and everywhere else. Because everything else that any government wants to do, it's gonna get trapped in our system.
And that is a challenge. And that is a challenge that we all face under the Westminster type style government that we have, and these huge public services and what they do. Not that they're not needed, but of course we need to find a way to get them more efficient. Margaret Thatcher was the first one who blew up the idea of the traditional public service and got it to a point where she made it more, I don't want to say private sector, but more efficient in how you do things and what were the roles of the permanent secretaries, change all of that and so on. So we need to, in our parts of the world, look at that, but for in Grenada's case, you have to have constitutional...
Maybe some of the acts are...
No, it's a constitutional issue, and unless you get a constitution to get variations...
Oh, well, I mean, come on.
And we know that when we went to
I'm not going to go there, but there's some good news. There's good news I've been picking up. Some notice on the Western Main Road. And that includes the Molyneux.
So I don't know this Kuma Road. I mean, I've never heard about this Kuma Road.
That is, as you go up to Bolio, Constantine, that area there's a road to your left, just after a garage. So that road would go over and come into the Grenville Vale area. So that's going to make it a bit. But there's some good news. I was reading that we've invited as a virtual meeting of not the consultants but the contractors for the road. So procurement and other issues seem to have gone quite well for the Western Main Road. And there's a consultation on Wednesday, a community consultations where the contractor will be talking to the community regarding what to expect and the issues there.
Because the Molyneux Road can't start unless the Monkuma Road is...
That's a real good development. That's a real good development.
No, I think, if you want to say, I think Minister Nolan Cox is doing an excellent job as Minister for Works and Implementation as well. There are a number of projects going on throughout the island. Concrete roads here being developed here, bypass roads.
Right here.
Yeah,
the
St. John's River. There's quite a number of things happening. So, and I mean, managing all of these projects together is not an easy feat. But I think we're getting prepared and we're getting into a mode to understand that we can handle multiple things at the same time. Hopefully,
we could walk and chew gum. We figure we could chew the gum and then wait to walk.
So
we could walk and chew gum.
If we're talking about what is going to happen with the climate, what is going to happen with the adjustments we have to make to our coastal regions, what in terms of attitudes, people who live in the Sobeys area and all of these things, how we're going to deal with sea rises, bleaching of the coral reefs. I mean, the issue with the
we need to step out
the
front
thing that
on
comes
that.
on the show there, what is that nowadays?
Sargassum.
Is an issue as well. So we need to start thinking in that vein, you know, and getting ourselves prepared to handle.
As you mentioned, Sobeys, there was an accident there over the weekend. A lady died.
Yeah, I heard so.
She was coming from the beach and she was walking back up the hill where they have the new housing project. And apparently a car rolled down and a car, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if the handbrakes wasn't up or whatever. It's unclear. I guess we would know more today. And the car came down the hill. She got away from it, but it came in the direction and just covered her.
It's very
tragic.
Very unfortunate.
Very tragic.
Sympathies.
So our condolences to her family, and I really hope no one. Well, it seemed like some people saw it. So that could be something that's, you know, stuck in here. So that's pretty sad as well. Before we bring in our guests as well, I'd just like to mention, it seemed like we're doing a lot of unkind things on social media. I became aware of a situation. I saw that was posted on about Spice Island Beach Resort. I saw Sir Royston's picture, and I was like, oh my God, is 3 years since Sir Royston passed already? And then when I read the post, I realized it had to do with some expression that probably someone claimed. They went to the property and they were told no locals. That is not true. And we need to stop that. Here's an understanding. If you go to a hotel property and they say to you, we are not accepting non-resident guests. Resident at a hotel means you're a guest at a hotel. It doesn't mean you was born in Trinidad or you was born in Grenada. Non-resident means you're not a guest at a hotel. So if you show up at the Calabash, at the Spice Island Beach Resort, at the Radisson, and they say to you, sorry, today or tomorrow, we're not accepting non-resident guests, they are not telling you that locals are not accepted. That's not what they're saying. Non-resident meaning you're not living at the property. And because of all these COVID protocols, a lot of these properties have had to do that. So they're now getting back into the stream of things where non-residents, you know, so for instance, I could have gone there and spent a week. I'm a resident, but I'm local at it, but I'm a resident of the property. So I think we need to understand, and when we show up, we need to be clear. So for all the bashing I saw of the property and the Hopkins and so on, unnecessary.
And let me just add something.
You know, unnecessary. And I don't know why we need to be litigating everything on Facebook. It's time for some of us start to become responsible for some of the things we're doing.
I just want to end and add this. You know, when I went on the beach yesterday, I was so upset with the garbage and the
Grandans.
right
Which
in
beach?
front. Grandans. You know, the Kentucky boxes. I tired to talk about that, and you know, it's so disgusting to understand.
And there are bins around.
And right in front of the Spice Island property beachfront area, you know, it seems to be prevalent in that area.
There's a drain that comes in.
But not even before the drain, under the trees, and so obviously they go there and they just heap up everything, and we don't. I mean, it's really. I mean, I can't talk about this and you know, complain about it, and I think we need to reach that point where we need to start charging people for littering on the beach.
There are little laws.
And have the police pass by and, you know, just charge.
And the environmental waters, give them the power to give them the power to charge people for littering.
As a people, and we littering, or one of our greatest tourism asset and attraction, not only for tourists but for locals.
For locals, I would
go there and exercise and enjoy the beach and the environment, and it's just depressing. I don't know what other word to say. I can't say the real words on the program.
Don't become like Greta Thunberg now. All those some spicy words is, you know, help spice up things. Anyway, folks, we are celebrating our first anniversary of Perspectives, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back with our guests. We'll be right back.
Get Vax. It's your best shot. Hello.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Dreaming of taking a break and escaping to an idyllic, happy place? Well, finding it does not require you to go too far. You already live in paradise. All it takes is for you to go out and discover it. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are blessed with a wide variety of accommodation that satisfy any taste and budget. Find the one that suits you and your family and treat yourself while having peace of mind that your health and safety is a priority. Knowing that we have gorgeous waterfalls, stunning beaches, and flavorful cuisine, let's be tourists in our own islands and enjoy paradise at home.
Tourism connects us all.
Welcome back to Perspectives. If you're just joining us this morning, welcome to the program. This morning, our special guest panelist is Pastor Devon Rachae. You must be quite familiar with Pastor Rachae. We first became aware of him when he decided that he was going to contest the St. David's seat in the 2008 elections, I believe. Pastor Rachae, you could correct me. My memory serves me well. I think that's when I first became aware of who you were. And he also heads one of the biggest and probably even youngest ministries in terms of religious ministries here in Grenada. It is a pleasure to welcome to Perspectives Pastor Devon Rachae. Good morning, Pastor Rachae.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning to the other panelists. And it is so good to be here with you, all your listeners and viewers. Really a pleasure to be with you this morning. And I'm impressed that you remember the year. Yes, it was 2008 when I entered frontline politics. Really, really good there, Brenda.
Yeah, okay, thanks. I don't know. Just history, I read a lot. Not that I remember in politics, really. Right. So, you know, the things are in terms of the landscape, lots of young people entering politics and all of that. You know, we're hearing from people, well, you know, where young people going and other people saying, hello, wait, give us a time. This is our history. This is who we are. This is what we've always done. So from you, Pastor Rachae, in 2008, what got you into the political pool?
Well, let me just say this, that my involvement in politics started even way before 2008. In fact, I believe for most persons who eventually enter politics and have a passion to serve people, that this must begin with service at the community level. And for me, I was involved prior to this in youth organization and community-based organizations in St. David. At the time when I got involved, I was also the president of the St. David Youth Council. I was president of that organization for several years, and that organization represented all of the youth organizations in St. David. So it was a coming together of the various youth organizations, and we were engaged in the post-Ivan period in doing many projects in St. David, and I guess those projects got the attention of some persons within the New National Party, a party that my family have always supported. And I was approached at the time concerning the possibility of being a candidate. I did have involvement in the party prior to that, in that I was the public relations officer for the St. David branch for several years prior to that. And also I was a member of the national executive before becoming a candidate. So while I became a candidate when I was 22, I was involved with NAP politics many years prior to that. In fact, I remember my very early elections, when I could not even vote. In fact, the 1999 election, I almost got in trouble with one of my neighbors. I was, at the time, just getting carried away with the wave of politics. And I remember me and my brother, we, one of the nights, we just went out and took some paint from my mother's house and went over to my neighbors, and right in front of our entrance, we drew a house, and that wasn't well received. And that was 1999, and I couldn't vote at the time, but I was, really enthusiastic about politics, and even coming from my time from TAMCC, where I was president of the student council there, people would tell you that I always had an inclination towards politics from even those days. So entry was not a surprise to a lot of persons who knew the work that I was engaged with in the community of St. David and nationally by extension.
Right. You mentioned that you were approached by the New National Party at the age of 22. So a fast Pastor Rachae are curious, right? And the viewers want to know. We want to know how these conversations go, right? So, I guess somebody must have been following your work as you listed all the things you were doing in community, because that's where it starts really and truly, and the interest that one would have to serve. But how did that conversation go? How did that courting go?
Well, it was an easy conversation because of my involvement with the party suite, because of my involvement on the constituency executive, and because of my involvement on the national executive. So for years before 2008, I was already engaged in political work. We were in the process of identifying a candidate for the constituency of St. David. And people remember that in those times, we did have some challenges in terms of the people of St. David coming together to support any one of those candidates who had expressed interest. And my understanding was that some polling was done of persons within the party's executive, the constituency, who were involved in the politics, and to try to find out who would people likely support. And somehow my name was included in the poll. And members of the party expressed that I would be someone they wouldn't mind supporting. So the party did share that information with me, and then asked me whether I will consider contesting the election. Obviously, the time was very close to the national elections, but I agreed because I felt that this is an opportunity for youth to serve, and for those people who have followed the New National Party, there have been several other young persons who have been involved in politics. Even prior to my time, the likes of Emlyn Pear, we had Richard McPhail, who was a senator sometime prior to that. And this has continued because even now you have the likes of Katisha and Judd Cadet and so forth who are serving in the parliament. So this was an opportunity for me to really serve, and I embraced it. And it was a great experience. If I had to do it, I'll do it again.
If you had to do it, you do it again. In the interest of full disclosure, Pastor Rachae, please let people know, because we don't want anybody to think that you're putting out a bid for candidacy, right? So, in the interest of full disclosure, we're just using you as a sounding board, really.
So, full disclosure, if I had to live my life again and I was age 22 and I was approached, I would run again at that age.
At that time.
Full disclosure, so that people find me, to be clear.
Great. What do you make of everything that's happening now? We have a newly elected young leader of the major opposition party, and of course, you admit all the youth work you do, and even from leading your own youth ministry, in terms of the focus, the thrust of youth, the importance of youth in engagement and governance and all of that. How do you see it, Pastor Rachae?
Well, I just want to say to all the young people who have seen the need to enter politics, well, welcome to the field of politics. And it is always good to have young people involved and engage in the political arena. And I know oftentimes people question the age of young people. I do not think that age should be a disqualifying or a qualifying factor for consideration in leadership.
Yeah.
In my view, it is really not the amount of years that somebody have, but what they did with the years is what should count. So when you consider someone's age, you should ask yourself, okay, this person is now offering themselves for public office. What have this person done with the number of years they've given? Have they been involved in work in the community? Have they been involved in work, champion different causes in the community, whether it be being involved in community-based organizations or youth organizations? Because the mettle of persons is tested by their involvement. The Bible even speaks of this. The Bible says, by the fruit you will know them. It is based on what you have done in the past. We can really test who you are. And so I have heard a lot of conversation in the public space about youth involvement in politics. And some people would suggest to you that by the fact that someone is young means that that should be an automatic qualifier. I do not share that view. Right? I do not think that age should be a qualifying factor or a disqualifying factor. Right? I think that as a nation, we cannot accept that within the field of politics, we need a balance of both persons who are young and persons who are probably not so young. But as I said, it is not so much the number of years that you have lived, but what did you do with the years that you have lived? And so we really have to judge people by their track record, because your track record really best reveals who you are. So what have been persons' involvement in the community and such like. So when you look at Brazilian history, some of our past leaders have been persons who entered politics when they were young.
Yeah.
Many of them didn't enter at leadership level, but they started by championing many causes. When you think about the likes of Gary and him fighting and championing the cause of someone of farmers and so forth, when he was fairly young, and we considered the likes of Morris Bishop and some of the causes that he championed before probably entering frontline politics or running to be prime minister. You look at the likes of Dr. Keith Mitchell. He also entered politics pretty young, but at a very tender age, he was leading youth organizations, including sports organizations. Some people would remember that he's on record for being one of the youngest captain of our national cricket team and so forth. So we have had leaders who came up through the ranks, persons who have started at the community level and champion cause at those levels, work with organizations within the community and came up through the ranks. And so it is always good to see young people who have a heart for service from a very young age and are now able to enter frontline politics. This is the way we are, in my mind, we should really judge whether someone is qualified to lead or not. Judge them based on the track record. What did you do with the years that you have had?
Turn to the Allie.
Yeah, so my ex-senatorial colleague, good morning as well. Good to have you on the program. And leading on to that whole youth issue in politics and what has happened, it's good to remind us that, young people, even the current crop of ladies and gentlemen we have in politics started at a young age as well. So there's nothing really new for young people to enter into the fray. But as we have just seen happen in the context of the new NDC and what they have done in terms of transforming the slate in terms of the executive and the amount of young people. My question to you is, I think both parties would have an issue with succession planning. NDC would have had it now, NNP is also facing that issue. What do you believe? And from your perspective as a young person who entered very early, doesn't this change on the NDC front force the new National Party to put forward a slate or to welcome in new people or put in the forefront a younger blend of people to challenge in the next election cycle? Because you can argue NNP have a certain blend of mature and young, but doesn't that, from where you sit, put a certain amount of pressure, if that is the right word, for them to respond to what has happened on the NDC side?
Well, I don't know that I can speak for the new National Party, but I will speak from my own opinion. And just to indicate that, in my view, I do not know that there is really I'm going to make any drastic adjustment. Certainly, just from my time of involvement in the past with the New National Party, I know that succession planning has always been a concern of the party, and this is why persons like myself, the Honorable MNP, and others were given the opportunity. There are some persons who are pretty young who are involved in the politics. We have, for example, the MP from Caribbean Cooperative Market Territory in Strat. You have people like Kate and so forth who are pretty fresh and green in the politics and who are involved in succession planning. And the Honorable MNP is still very young, but have a lot of experience having served from even a young age. And she's somebody as well who came up through service and worked through the community over the years. So I don't know that I really have a concern that there is not youth involvement. My feeling is that there is youth engagement. When you look at the Senate, for example, you have people like Atisha, you have the John Cadets and so forth who are involved at the senatorial level. And so if we consider the slate of the New National Party currently, I don't know that I feel that there's a need to necessarily turn over the slate. I know that from my years of engagement with the party in the past, that the party always had a very vibrant youth. And if you look at the background of the party from since 1995, when the party got into government for the first time under Dr. Mitchell's leadership, there have always been young persons who have been involved either in the senatorial level and the ministerial level. Beyond that, I think what really prepares you for leadership is not so much whether you're a candidate or you're not a candidate, but you are given the opportunity to really develop. So a number of persons have been given the opportunity to go out and to study. A lot of persons have studied here. Some persons are engaged in service at different levels. It may not at this time be frontline politics, but there are persons who have been with working with governments and different programs and speaking here with just general Grenadian nationals, persons who are serving with statutory bodies and other private sector entities. And these persons will be able at the right time to serve at the political level, I'm sure, but they are engaged in service currently and they are engaged in nation building. I know some people say to me, for example, well, we need you to come back. And I said to them, I've really never left the service of people. I am the president of the Alliance of Evangelical Churches, which is a major organization here in Grenada representing over 100 evangelical churches. I am probably one of the youngest pastors in the country. I'm certainly the youngest president who I've ever served. And, and I've been able to serve to successive terms, being elected by my persons to serve in this capacity. So I'm just saying that I don't know that I'm really concerned so much about that. I believe that there is when you speak about leadership of country, it needs to be a great balance between fresh ideas and obviously experience. And experience, especially in these times when we are speaking about a pandemic and the need to rebuild our national economy and so forth, I believe that tried hands are probably the best bet. That doesn't mean that there is no need for young people, because certainly we need fresh and creative ideas. But fresh ideas can also come from persons who are currently involved. And as I said, there are persons who are currently MPs, right? That are persons who are currently MPs that are really new to the political scene. So suffice it to say, it's good to see that the NDC have some members of its national executive that are youth, but the executive is not the party's slate. So I am waiting to see who emerges as candidates on the National Democratic Congress to be able to speak about what the slate will look like, because it is a very big difference between what your executive is and who becomes your candidate. Because really, it is your candidates that is going to speak in the parliament, it's your candidates that's going to be involved in making a lot of those decisions that is going to shape the legislation and the way forward.
All right. Pastor Rachae, we take a quick break and we come right back and continue our conversation with you right here on Perspectives. We'll be right back.
I am Chantel Fraser from Coast Guard St. Mark. I'm 22 years old. I did fish processing, SIAP, TAMCC.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy. To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal. When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Welcome back to Perspectives, everyone. We do regret we were having some audio issues about maybe 2 minutes into the last break with our guest panel, so we do regret that. We continue our conversation with Pastor Devon Rachae. Senator Allie, you are in the middle of questioning.
Pastor Rachae, I wanted to lead up with another question on with looking at the youth versus mature people and the experiential issue that normally comes up. You know, when we have young people, there's always this argument that young people don't have the experience that is required for them to function effectively. Of course, the other side to that coin is that young people bring added energy, new perspectives, fresh eyes, and so on. So it's something that needs to be encouraged. From where you sit from a political standpoint, how important you think is experience a contributing factor to getting people to vote for a party one way or the other, understanding that one party now has a slate of executives that are pretty young? As you have said, that doesn't necessarily reflect who the candidates will be, and that is something we'll have to wait and see that is put forward. But how do you weigh the experience versus the youth energy, and how we need to combine that?
Yeah, well, I remember that when I just got involved in politics, I had a conversation with someone, and we were having a debate about the set issue, experience versus youth. And the person was basically suggesting to me that many times young people, we tend to devalue the need for experience. And so I was arguing that, you know, as young persons, we are creative and we can find ways in which to make things happen, probably without the requisite experience. And the person asked me this question. They said, you step on a flight and someone says to you that today you have to choose between two pilots. And you have a pilot who is going to be doing the maiden flight. This is their first time flying. And you probably have another pilot who have a little bit of experience. Which pilot would you be more comfortable flying with? And that basically, really and truly for me brought the point home that when it concerns leadership, there is really need for a true balance. And I don't think that we have to try to separate the two. It's not either or. If we can have both, we can have experience and we can have youth. But I personally, even as a young person, and I'm young, than even some of the persons who have entered the field of politics. Even from a young person's perspective, I believe and value the need for experience, especially in leading a country. If you are coming in and you haven't had no experience in management, probably you have had no experience in public service, you do not understand how things work and so forth, then you'll be totally, a fish out of water. So you need to have some level of experience that you can glean from and that can surround you. And that is where coaching and development of leaders come in. And I think that is the need for parties to really have the functioning youth arms, and not just the youth arms, but young people who can be part of your cabinet, young people who can be part of your team in the Senate, so that these young people have the opportunity to develop, and that when opportunities come about in leadership, these young people can be elevated to leadership, having gleaned from the experience of persons who have been there, have done that. They are able to learn from what these persons have done well, and also things that these persons have not done very well, as opposed to coming in without having had experience, because you can be young and you can have some level of experience. I would tell you, a lot of my views that I shared when I was 22, when I just entered politics, I do not share them today. I listened to some of my speeches when I was 22, and even just listening some of the things that I've said then in terms of how I phrase things, some of my views, over time, because you have the opportunity to glean from the experience of others, you'll find that you probably didn't see things as clearly as you should have in those times. So there's need for experience and there's need for you. There's need for a balance. It doesn't mean that there comes a time when all of the persons who have served before us, that we should just kick them out, get rid of them because they have no value. They have value. They have been there. They have had the opportunity to lead and so forth. And let us use our current Prime Minister, for example. Before our current Prime Minister, even if he was a youth at the time when he entered politics and very young, when he became Prime Minister, before he became Prime Minister, he served within a cabinet. He led a ministry, in that being the Ministry of Works. And he had leadership experience coming from the community level and coming into politics. And that set for him a platform from which he could have led. When you look at Jerry, as I said, Morris, Bishop, all of these persons had the opportunity, even if they were young, to glean from the experience of others and develop leadership over time.
The next question, I want to change tracks a little. And, as we get in closer to our election date, which is 2023, you expect for 2022, you're going to see a ramping up of campaigning and campaigning aspects. From where you sit, how important do you believe the use of social media and its various platforms to campaign is going to be an issue going forward? Because here we are going after the youth again, the youth vote. There are a lot of young people from the last cycle to now 5 years before and 5 years hence that would now have qualified to vote as well. How important do you think social media is going to be and play a part in the next election campaign cycle to attract young people to the polls and to get them to vote?
Yeah, well, social media is definitely going to be one of the best mediums of communication in terms of getting information out there, presenting candidates to individuals. I believe that social media, in our modern era, played a major role in shaping political views. We have seen the era where persons, have been able to use and also misuse social media. And I'm hoping that in the next campaign, we'll see the productive use of social media. Already, we are not even yet into an election year, but you're already seeing, well, hopefully, we're not sure because anything can happen anytime within our system. But it is not yet constitutionally due. And you're already seeing a lot of things being said in social media that is somewhat destructive, probably not constructive. I see sometimes even people who are seeking to get information get attacked for asking questions or for seeking information. Certainly we are in the information age and social media is one of those mediums, but I think not really beats what you have done in terms of connecting with people, in terms of in politics. So persons know you based on your track record, and persons will make the judgment most likely based on that.
And, I've always been a proponent of debates. And I believe, one of the things we lack in our political environment when we put ourselves forward to represent our peoples is that we never encourage enough debates among our leaders or even some of the candidates. I am a strong proponent that, we must have a leaders' debate. Hard questions must be put to our leaders regarding their policies on various aspects of our country, various things dealing with economy, crime, security, all the various issues that affect us. What is your take on that? Do you believe that having a leaders' debate and even filtering it down lower is going to be something that we should encourage and something that we should really try to get in this next cycle?
So when I ran for election in 2008, I was, together with my party, a big advocate for debate. Almost every meeting I had, I was asking, can we have a debate? I would like to be able to one-on-one present views with my opponent and so forth. But at the time, the National Democratic Congress was not inclined to have a political debate. And we have seen a lot of political dance within our space concerning the issues of debate. I don't know if views of political parties have evolved when it comes to political debates and so forth. But I believe that there is a space for things like debates. However, I don't think that debates alone will allow you to make an informed political decision. There are a lot of people who are very smooth talkers, and this is something that our people know. People can tell you things, they can sound good, and when they get into power, it's a disaster. So I think debates are to be welcome, and there is an opportunity for that, but I would not say that it should probably be the central thing around which someone makes a political decision, because I'm sure I can take someone from probably a high school and put on a debate stage with probably some of our political persons, and the high schooler may sound even better in terms of the capacity to debate and so forth, but that doesn't mean that they have greater capacity to lead the country. So yes, there is a space for debate in terms of dealing with issues and policies, and I hope that within the next cycle we'll hear a lot more about policies, issues, track record, and not just about personalities, because I'm hearing already people calling people stupid and dunce and foolish, and as opposed to dealing with the issues. Let us deal with the issues. Let us speak about where people stand on the issues, what is their view concerning the issues, what have been their track record. And I keep repeating track record because that becomes very important on major issues, because it is one thing for you to say to me, well, I would do this, I would not do this, but what have you done in the past that tells me that you are likely to do something or likely not to do something? So I think it is more about hearing about the issues and being able to also judge persons based on the track record.
So my last question to you, Pastor, is this. You are very involved, with your particular organization. You're president, one of the youngest of your evangelical side of religion. What, from your perspective, the religious vote is a huge bloc in Grenada. It represents a significant part of the voting bloc. From where you sit, what is your reading of what is happening now, and what do you believe is going to be a main focus for any politician to garner the support of the religious community to come out to the polls and vote?
So I do not really usually measure the likelihood of persons to vote based on their religious belief, because even as a pastor within my church, I have persons who support different political parties and some people who are apolitical. However, I can just speak for myself. As a believer, the things that I look at that influence my vote is how does the issues in terms of people's approach to social issues especially align with biblical viewpoints. So comparing the candidates' worldview to that of the biblical view. Also, it is not just that, but it is your capacity to manage. One of the things that as believers we really try for is having a sense of peace and safety within our country. And peace is affected by how well your economy is being managed. Peace is affected by your level of employment or unemployment and programs to deal with those matters. Peace is affected by your capacity to maintain a level of involvement and engagement of different groupings within our society. How well are you at avoiding divisiveness? How well are you at dealing with issues of tribalism? Because those are the issues that really affect stability within the country. And for us as believers, those are things that we look forward to. So those things really affect the way we vote. But like everybody else, it is about who is best able to manage a country within a given time without jeopardizing those values that you hold dear.
Right. Pastor Rachae, just to switch a bit, we're still staying within the youth, and let's focus a little bit on young men now. Last week, I saw a news clip where a fellow pastor, Pastor Stanford Simon, was making the point that he thinks that the male youth might be, just a little, I think the word he used was lazy, in terms of, moving and their ambition and their drive and all of that. As you look at the youth, the male in Grenada, I'm sure you have a heavy concentration in your congregation as well. Is that a fair assessment from where you sit? Of course, taking into consideration that's Pastor Simon's point of view and probably his experience as well. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I didn't have the opportunity to hear the clip and to hear the context from which he was speaking. But certainly, from my experience, I believe that there is a need to really reach out to our young people generally, and there's the need to empower some of our young men. And I would not necessarily classify our young people as being lazy. There are a lot of issues that affect our youth, our young men especially. There are a lot of issues that affect how young men feel about themselves, how they see themselves in terms of what their role should be within our society. And we cannot discount the fact that there has been cultural penetration within our society that have affected the way our young people function and our young people operate. I believe that programs like Empower, which is one of the programs that is currently run that directly is geared towards dealing and treating with young men and empowering young men is very important. I see an increased focus on vocational education, building technical expertise, so that young men, and generally young people, because young women can do that too, have the opportunity to be able to realize potential in different areas as opposed to just necessarily the raw academic. But I believe as a society on a whole, we need to do a better job at teaching our young men the value and the contributions that they can make to society. However, notwithstanding this, I think that we need to give some credit to our young men, because one of the things I've been observing, I don't know if you guys have observed the same, is that there seems to be an increased involvement of young men in terms of parenting. As a pastor, whenever we have baby dedications, you see more of the fathers are present for those dedications, and those are young fathers. Even when you have those counseling sessions leading up to baby dedications, which some people call christening, you see a lot of young men being present and standing up to their responsibilities. When you walk the streets, you see a lot of young men walking their kids and so forth. So I believe there's some credit that we need to also give to the young men.
Right. We also live in a global space where our views on life as we see it, it's changing. It's no longer as traditional as it used to be. So people are more open, especially with things like their sexuality. But at the same time, sexuality becomes a societal and also religious, where people frown upon the decisions or the choice of another. What is playing a critical role with our youth as well, as many of them struggle to find their footing, their curiosity as to, do I like girls, or do I want to be with a girl and a boy, that sort of thing. I know as I say this morning, some people might be cringing, but it is the reality of where we live and also just how life is morphing. As a young pastor, I'm sure you have many in your congregation. You may have people who may be concerned, who may be curious, who may be facing challenges, who may be facing fear. How do you deal with this, Pastor? And what would you say to us as a society who labels ourselves as Christian, and that is a good thing, but then we stand in judgment of others?
So certainly I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of young persons who have had those type of sexuality questions concerning their own sexuality. Mm-hmm. I believe that within the church we have to create a safe space for persons to be open to speaking about these issues. Certainly, the views of the church on those matters is very well known. It is very well documented in Scripture, and I believe that even if you may not agree with the positions of this person, and certainly I may not agree with a lot of the expressions concerning sexuality that is out there, I believe we have to create a safe space. The issue of somebody having questions about the sexuality is a very serious issue. Some people have identity crisis that comes up as a result of it. And if we are, as a church, are serious about treating with the issue of how people are able to serve God, what is expected of people biblically, we have to be willing to treat it every issue. So just as you treat with fornication, adultery, divorce, hypocrisy, stealing, the tendency to probably use obscenities, so too we should be open to treating with the issue of sexual questions and sexuality. And I believe the most important part for me is notwithstanding how you feel, because certainly I have my views and it is well documented, well known nationally, my views on those matters. But notwithstanding how you feel personally or what is our biblical viewpoint on this, we have to, at the end of the day, treat people with love, notwithstanding how they live or what the choices are. I am always one who is big for not discriminating. So someone's sexuality shouldn't affect what job they can have. Someone's sexuality shouldn't affect where they can serve. Someone's sexuality should not necessarily affect the way they are treated within our societal context. And so that is my view about that. And I feel that as a society, we have a responsibility to love everyone and to allow a space where everyone can coexist in a loving environment. That does not mean that you have to accept, and that does not mean that someone who may feel differently about their sexuality must seek to pose or impose their viewpoint on other individuals, right? Because part of us coexisting is you understanding that I probably do not support your lifestyle, and therefore you not trying to push that lifestyle onto me or trying to force me into supporting it. But it's also me understanding that you probably feel differently from the way I feel, and I should therefore at the same time not discriminate against you because you feel different.
All right. And final question to you, Pastor Rachae. It is estimated that the religious community probably the lowest vaxxed, low levels of vaccination across the religious community. Have you, as a church leader, I'll ask you the question because you can only speak for yourself, do you think you have done enough to sensitize your members about the science of COVID and vaccinations, and have not created any dilemma for them as it relates to how they feel religiously about it? Because when we hear people of faith speak about this, they seem to come down on the side of religion, and things like the mark of the beast is put forward and so on. How have you dealt with this in your church, and your general feeling as to why the religious community in Grenada is so lowly vaxxed?
Right. So just speaking from my own observation from the religious community, I know that there's been a perception, and maybe we do not have the statistics on this, but from my conversation in circles where I have discussions with pastors and churches, I don't know that we are very lowly vaxxed as the perception is. However, I would say that many of our churches have been willing to expose membership to information on vaccination. Our pastors, to a large extent, haven't been doing this themselves. So you will notice that you have not seen a lot of pastors coming out there for vaccination or against vaccination, because many pastors do not believe they have the proficiency to speak on the issue of vaccination. But what has happened is that there have been many sessions that have been held by various denominations where medical professionals have been brought in to share information on vaccination. I must indicate here, just to state clearly, based on my belief and based on the belief of many of our evangelical churches, that the COVID-19 vaccine is not the mark of the beast. And I just do not believe it is. And it just doesn't match up against Scripture in terms of what Scripture says concerning the mark of the beast. So just to dispel that myth already and out of the gate and very early. However, I believe that persons can make their own decisions as it pertains to vaccination. And as the church, we do not necessarily direct people in terms of medical decisions. It hasn't been the tradition of the church. However, we believe that we have a responsibility to to expose our members to the information so that they can make their independent decision on those issues.
Right. Fair enough, but some people might think it's a cop-out to say that the pastors don't feel they're proficient enough to come out and make a statement or a point about vaccinations, but they're very proficient enough to talk about other topics. How would you address that?
Right, so there are social issues that the church will talk about because those issues are well documented within scripture. For example,
not all the time.
If we are speaking about...
Not in every instant.
Most of the time. I cannot recall an issue that I have spoken about, for example, in my capacity as president of the Alliance of Evangelical Churches. That is not an issue that is well documented.
Okay.
In fact, many times people put out on Facebook, what is your viewpoint on a particular issue? I said to them, you want to know my view, you can read the Bible because it's right in there. Whatever common says, what is in the Word of God. Because I understand my responsibility. And, there have been a lot of pastors, as I've said, who have made their own decisions. They and their families have made decisions whether to be vaxxed, whether not to be vaxxed. But not just concerning the COVID vaccination, like even within our church space, many of our churches have health weeks and so forth that they hold every year, health month, and you bring people in. I have, every year, for example, my church have been bringing in medical doctors, we have been bringing in herbalists, we have had Patrick Dells, we have had many doctors who have come in and have shared information concerning general health. Some of the information that they have shared, in some cases they disagree even with each other. But you expose your membership to that information because it is a very important thing. The health of people is very important. And you allow them to make the decision. It is just like politics. Even as pastors on the pulpit, we do not preach politics. You may have your own viewpoint, but for the most part, we do not encourage persons to go on the pulpit and say, vote for this party or do not vote for this party. But we believe that we have a responsibility to inform our people in terms of their responsibility to the country. Even Jesus Christ, when taxes had to be paid, for example, he sent the disciples and told them, you need to go to get your coin because you need to give unto Caesar what is due unto Caesar. So those matters we are able to speak about. But as it pertains to people's decisions on other issues, we provide the information and allow persons to make their free decisions. I will tell you, and this is why I said concerning the statement or the perception out there in the public that to a large extent many church folk, quote unquote, aren't vaxxed. I will tell you that there are many pastors who have been vaccinated, and there are many bishops who have been vaccinated. There are many persons within my congregations who have been vaccinated, and there are many persons who have not been vaccinated, right? But when you look at the percentages within the church compared to the national percentage, I don't know that we can say as a statement of fact that the vaccination rate within the church is necessarily low. There are a lot of persons who sometimes use church when it's convenient. There are people who really do not go to church but say that they wouldn't take the vaccination because they believe it's a mark of the beast. But that doesn't mean that they necessarily attend church.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Rachae. Thank you for being so open and with your contribution this morning. And I know you're very, very progressive in terms of your leadership and all of that at the Agape Ministries. Continue to do so and to lead the flock very well. So thank you very much for being our special guest panelist this morning.
Being on. Have a blessed day, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Devon. Take care. All right. Pastor Devon Rachae was our special guest panelist on our anniversary edition of Perspective this morning. We didn't ask Pastor Devon to pray for us. Yeah. 1 year. 1 year. We should have done. We could have do it a little blessing from Pastor Devon.
Should have, huh?
Yeah. So, Senator Allie, at the top of the program, you did say that maybe it's time for us to. That was a really good contribution from him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really appreciated his candor and he does come with some having been 22, 2008.
Yeah. I thought he reminded us well of.
Yes.
How most of our political persons now in both parties across both aisles would have started young.
Yes.
Through a lot of background organizations, youth arms, and different things that serve the public and engage in various aspects. So I thought that was a good reminder as well to let us know that the young faces we're seeing coming forward now is nothing new to us.
Yes.
It's just probably, as he said, the ideal thing is the blend of experience with youth.
Yes.
And he gave his own example of things he would have said when he was 22 versus now.
Yes.
You know, so
yes.
yeah, and I think
point.
That is always a welcome approach, because the one thing I find with experience, Brenda, is that it teaches you what you don't want.
Yeah, but you can only get that if you start.
Right.
You know, at a certain time.
And that is why bringing young people to be part of the process with our experienced ones will show them that, you know, over the years, this is what would have developed and what is not the prescribed way to go. We admire your energy. Well, certainly the energy that comes with the young people, those of us in the advanced age can't keep up.
Right.
So we need them,
yeah.
and we need to pass the baton on properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, I mean, at the end of the day, the blend is going to be important.
Of course, I mean, we have to be very cognizant of our history, who we are as a people, and be careful not to be so aspirational in our thinking that we're seeing other societies as our society. We really have to see us as ourselves.
Yeah.
And the thing about Grenada, it has always been intergenerational. It has always been intergenerational, a mix of the generations. And I think that's how it works. It works best. We cannot, you can't dismiss young people. You just don't get to do that. And then you just don't, just cast aside the old as well, And so, but you have to understand that there comes a time when there's a progression that things need to happen. Yeah. And it needs to be the opening for it to happen. And when people step forward, they need to feel embraced by it, because that's the only way they will be able to grow.
I mean, and succession plan is nothing new. All of us in the private sector are supposed to practice that as well. And, part of the succession planning is making sure you identify the right persons and coaching them, mentoring them for a period of time so
coaching
they understand
and mentoring is critical.
What their role is going to be. And I think Devon alluded to that well, that, he spoke a lot about the need to coach and mentor people through. And that is important. So, and for the whole issue of continuity, both from a political standpoint, from administrative and otherwise, there is a need to ensure that the young that is brought in and identified and who is willing is coached properly so that they understand all aspects. So I think we heading down a good road on that side politically.
Yes. Yes, we are.
I
think we are. Anyhow, we gotta go, but you did say you feel guys should just open up. I almost think I saw open up the door. Let me go out.
Careful how you're doing that. Open up. Enjoy yourself.
I don't want to come in. Yeah. Open up the door, Dr. Keith. Open up the door. Let me go out.
Have a great day.
So he kind of do a little crack in the door. Yeah. So now you just need to.
I want you to have a great day on this special day of yours. And
thank you. Thank you so very much.
You celebrate.
Thank you so very much.
Appropriately.
I shall. I'm really thankful for this new year. And I give God all the praise. I know two people who passed because of COVID, their birthdays. One was last week and one will be Saturday. And they didn't make it to this month to celebrate their birthday. So when I think of that kind of thing, it really puts my whole life into perspective. And so, not to be cliche or corny or anything, but yes, I'm very thankful. And thanks to everyone. And there are other people celebrating today. Raul Titus, it's your birthday today. Richie, is Raul birthday? No? Yeah, Raul is my Scorpio twin. Happy birthday to you, Raul. Lorna Snag at Tropical in Huggins. It's Lorna's birthday today as well. Happy birthday, Lorna. Mwah. Happy birthday to you, sister.
Happy birthday, Lorna.
Shoma Harris is her birthday today as well. Sheila Harris is and so sister. Happy birthday to you, Shoma, and a happy birthday. I know that Marcia Johnson, she's in the US. Happy birthday. That's my Scorpio. I share birthdays with them, twin birthdays. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We thank you so much, those of you who continue to watch Perspectives. We have some viewers, they have stuck with us. from day one. They've never left us. So Shadina, thank you, darling. Mr. Bayer, Roger Bayer, thank you so very much. Depredine, the Depredine brothers, but especially Clevoy, Depo, thank you very, very much. Cassandra Mitchell, thank you. All those of you who look on in the background, send your well wishes. We really appreciate you. And to the guests who have come on and made our show so memorable, to the point where every time I meet someone, they congratulate us on what we do here. Thank you very much. It's no easy feat, but we continue to bring you the perspectives every Monday morning. Thank you so much to MTV. We really appreciate the partnership, and to all the broadcast entities, Mikey Live, TNR Communications, Partygrenada, Sister Island Carriacou, and now KG9 joining us. Thank you so very much. Those of you in the diaspora who send notes, thank you so very much. I am Brenda Baptiste. Until next time, for everyone here, our executive producer, Richie Oliver, Blondell George, our director, Nazim Benjamin for professional streaming services, and Kirk Oliver, who brought our camera this morning. Have a great day, everyone. Until next Monday, when we bring you more perspectives. Bye-bye.